Hopefully you can hear me. I see there's one viewer. If you could confirm if you can hear me, and you should be able to hear the music, although I can't, which is a bit annoying. But hopefully you can. Okay. Just give it, as usual, a couple of minutes for people to dial in. And the music? Is there music playing? Nice piano music. Fantastic. Thank you very much for confirming. For some reason it's not going out through my speakers. I don't know why. It should do. But it doesn't. And that's okay. Oh, the balance is good. Okay, that's good to hear. It's surprisingly fiddly to set up a kind of home studio. Straight out of a classic novel. Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. Hopefully not the evil mastermind or something, like a good character. Yeah. And not the character who sort of like dies halfway through, or like, you know, 3/4 of the way through, because that usually happens in most books. I don't know if you've noticed, this is part of the way the plots are constructed. 3/4 of the way through the typical well-structured plot, somebody important dies. And that's when you know you're about 1/4 of the way away from the end. So hopefully I'm not that character. For those who are listening, somebody commented that I look like a character straight out of a classic novel, hence my statements here. Right, we're about 3 minutes in. I'm gonna take out the music gently and we're going to get started. So welcome to the daily NFT, the narrator. Yeah, thanks. Welcome to the daily NFT market health analysis by me, Daniel Tenner, aka Swombat, where we look at what's actually going on in the market based on the data rather than just the vibes. And we try and just figure out what's going on, what might happen next, and so make some wild speculations, but also kind of look at the actual data. So yesterday I said that I was fearing that we were going to go and sort of have a much lower crash and before a rebound. That hasn't happened. Instead of my second most likely scenarios, what seems to have gone on, which is we're still hanging in there and sort of not dropping further, but not rising back, which is good. It's not, I mean, it's better than the really bearish scenarios, which would be like, we just go down and just go back into a decline. So that's more bullish than what I expected. So that's nice. However, from a quick glance at the other indices, we can see that they haven't recovered despite this. There's been some sort of very weak minor increase in volume there and so here and here, but really nothing much to talk about. As for the women-led projects index, it continues to just trend down. If we look at the bar charts, we can see that there was actually a bit of a bump on Zenek and New here. Actually, I've only just noticed that. I didn't notice that during the Twitter thread. So yeah, there is a little bit of a bump there, but in context, like whilst it looks big on the bar chart, it's still not very big in context, and it wasn't enough to get the index, and it wasn't sustained. So whatever happened here, which might have been also related to Yuga Labs, I don't know, because the timing is about the same. It's a little bit after, but it could be related or it could be unrelated. It's across multiple projects, so I don't know what's going on there. But that's, if this comes back, then there could be a bump there. Anyway, so on the top 10, the main thing to notice there is that there was most of the volume that allowed us to stay where we are is actually driven by a Macy pump, which, if you've been following what's going on in the NFT space, you might know that that's related to a leak of a Yuga Labs plan which then was disowned by the Yuga Labs founders and said, like they said, they didn't even realize that that plan existed. They maybe hadn't even seen it. They said the plans were not actually anything like what they're planning. But by then there had been all these purchases of like, I don't know, 30 mutants, 2 hours, so 2 4-hour bars going. So that's about 60 mutants that got bought. Let's say about 40 of those would be on top of the normal volume of Macy. So people bought 40 mutants, which 40 times 15, we're talking about 600 ETH. 600 ETH, that's about, what, 1.2 million, or like so over $1 million that got spent basically on the back of some rumors that were then confirmed to be false almost right away. Which kind of prompted me in my thread today to coin a term, because like people are calling this, like in the space we call this aping in, and it sounds kind of cool, like, because apes are cool, bored apes are really cool as well. So aping into stuff sounds like, you know, it's something that a cool humanoid shaped creature would do. I'd kind of like to propose a new term for this, which is sheeping in. Because it's more what sheep do when they just follow the crowd and they see that the crowd is going somewhere. Oh yeah, I must go there as well because there's probably something good there. And sheep have slightly less good associations culturally than apes. In particular, they're well known for being eaten by wolves. And that's often what's going to happen if the behavior of the market is to sheep into everything, every rumor that comes up. Then chances are that they will be eaten eventually, and their money will go to people who aren't sheeping into stuff and who are just playing this and playing the rumors. And who knows who leaked that, but they were probably expecting some kind of mutant pump at that point. So it would have been like that leak could have been a very good example of market manipulation wherever that came from. And we'll probably never know unless NFT ethics or somebody like that gets in there and really investigates this. So I'd like to point to this as an example of not ideal behavior by the NFT market, and hope that at some point we'll get to a stage where this isn't the main way that the market operates. Because right now it's kind of basically it is what is sustaining the volumes of the top 10 where they are, is that sheeping in here that happened here. Without that, we probably would have had the collapse that I was expecting. Well, you know, I can't predict somebody leaking a rumor and people sheeping into bored apes or mutant apes in this case. What we're seeing is that at the moment, so if we look at the top 10 price charts there, is we can see that the prices have kind of started flattening out along with the volumes. So the relationship between the two is remarkably quick, which is quicker than I expected, certainly in the last few weeks. It wasn't the case back in December, so it's interesting to note that this seems to have changed. Like as soon as the volume goes up, the prices go up. As soon as it goes down, they come back down. It's remarkably quick. What might happen next? Well, we might continue and then bounce up. Or if the sheeping in doesn't actually create enduring volumes, which it probably won't, and the price continues to follow volume, we might see another drop in volume. I don't know what will happen. Both scenarios are plausible. In the thread, I suggested that I think the most likely one is this one. It's kind of 50-50, actually, thinking about it some more. Like, we might go like this, or we might go like this, and then recover. Those are my two most likely scenarios at this point. And I could be completely wrong, and, you know, I don't know, this graph could could draw a kind of like Mickey Mouse silhouette for all I know. I have no powers of prediction of what the charts will look like. If we look at the other indices to see what they're doing, they're not being very interesting today. I think basically the Yuga Labs pump took the wind out of like when it didn't sustain, it didn't lead to an immediate bull market, it took the wind out of the Zeneca Old index. So volumes have gone back to what is effectively below the October, November, December bear market. So very low volumes, and as long as we're hanging there, there's not going to be any price recovery, I think. same is true for the new projects there. There was, that flirting with the 7-day SMA that was going on. And then when the Yuga Labs pump happened, it sort of went down and it's not managed to get back up above since then. So it's kind of trending sideways, which is better than it could do. For example, if it was the women-led projects index, which is still very clearly trending downwards, so hasn't changed for quite a while now. And I was looking into some of those projects today because of this kind of data issue that I'm encountering, which seems to be something to do with OpenSea. That's doing something different with some kind of OpenSea storefront. I don't know what it is. If you've got some ideas, please tweet me and have a look at the thread. I've linked to a transaction that looks strange, and I'd love to get some input as to what could be making these transactions happen. Anyway. But while I was looking, I also saw that some of those projects look pretty sad. They haven't had transactions in 3 days or 5 days, something like that. And I've seen those projects before in my own portfolio, and it's never a good feeling to see a project that's just died like this. And there's probably quite a few of those in the women-led projects index, which helps explain the sort of long, slow bleed. But there's also some that are still trading 20, 40 a day, even as generally the women-led projects index just continues collapsing. I'm getting towards the end of the report, so if you have questions, please do ask them. And I'll do my best to answer them. I wanted to just quickly have a look at crypto, because it has actually done something interesting recently, which you can't necessarily see on this chart. But if we move to the 1 hour chart, we can see that, wow, there was a kind of big spike and drop with a big rise in volume there. And it's kind of risen back up to some kind of similar volume, although it's kind of just hanging in there and consolidating on the very short term 1 hour chart. It's not that super exciting when you consider that, there's this kind of downwards line here, and no matter which time scale you look at, we're just still in a downward trend. There's not really a kind of rise going on. Which for your crypto holdings might be bad news, but for your NFT holdings is, again, the perfect conditions for the NFT market to recover. So, depending on which bag you're looking at, you might wish for this to continue or you might not. That's your call. I'm hearing rumors that there's going to be there's going to go down, other rumors that it's going to shoot up, just can't really believe any of these rumors. Just at this point, I just accept that I don't know what the hell is going on with crypto, and I just hope it stays more or less the same price. And that's my actual ideal scenario for my NFT holdings. And I don't care if Ethereum doubles or just stays where it is or even halves. If I can make 10 to 40x on my NFT holdings, I mean, I do care. I'd rather it goes up, but it doesn't make that much of a difference. Okay. We're about 14 minutes in. I'm getting to the end of the report. Okay, there's a question. How would you feel about opening a Discord, having a set group, finding early projects updates? I feel you're already doing so much for the community, and I understand if you don't have time. I actually do have a Discord open. I'm not really managing it in any way. If you look on swombat.io/markethealth.html, you'll find a link there to, I think it is on there. I mean, let me load it up. So swombat.io. Oh, I need to fix that. The menu doesn't show at the top if the window is too small. Anyway, you go to Market Health and Oh yeah, okay. I guess it's not very obvious that this is a Discord, but if you click on Get in Touch here, it is a Discord link to the Swombat Cave, which I'm not really managing as a community, so please don't expect any activity or anything from that. But it does exist, and it's an easy way to contact me. And maybe we'll grow into something else at some point. I don't know. You can also find the charts there. I've now created a channel on there that includes the daily charts, actually the 4-hourly charts, which is maybe interesting for people to know if you want to see those charts more often than once a day. I mean, my analysis hopefully is helpful, but you can also get to see every single one of these dots and every single one of these bars appear not quite in real time, but as soon as the bar is finished, there should be an update of the top 10 index anyway, which is the most relevant one, the most important one in my view. And you can see an update of that posted on that channel like a few minutes after the 4-hourly time span finishes. There's also a bunch of other Discords which are listed here. Where is it? Oh, no, market health was what I wanted. Like a bunch of other Discords there. There's a couple of others I think that have come in since then. And actually it's now every 4 hours rather than every 12 hours, and it's every 4 hours everywhere. So everywhere gets the full gold standards of charts. Are there any other questions? That doesn't have to be. Don't force yourself to ask a question if you don't have one. We can also just end, not early, end when we're done with questions. I'll put some music on for a little bit. And give it a minute and see if there's a question. Enjoy the music in the meantime. I will be curious to see what happens. Is that second Yuga Labs pump that's here sustained? Does it make the market think that everything's okay and goes back up here? Oh, it's worth noting one thing that I didn't point out before, that like I pointed that out in the thread, that the chart here has kind of, if we ignore, like if this pump didn't happen and it just continued linearly, we'd be around about where it is now. So the price rise was very temporary. Hopefully the volume will also recover to there, because now the price is correct. It's like if the, I mean, my original assumption was that the price is leading, the volume is leading the price. At the moment, that's not what I'm seeing, so my assumption is incorrect at the moment, and I'm willing to accept that might be wrong. That's pretty important if you're going to do any kind of analysis. Question is, what is your favorite thing to do outside of the graphs and market? I don't know, I have a lot of different favorite things. Like I do a lot of different things. I just, I spend a lot of time learning to actually figure out what I want to do. And mostly these days, I just do what I want to do. And I just happen to want to do this market analysis quite regularly. I want to go and research projects and talk to founders. I enjoy doing that. I play the guitar a bit. I try to sing very badly, both of those. I like painting miniatures as well. I like spending time with people as well, my wife or friends. There's all sorts of things that I do. And I'm doing a kind of gym program at the moment as well. So do a bunch of things. I wouldn't say any of those is my favorite. My favorite is to just do what I feel like doing in the moment, whatever that happens to be. Even if it's just sitting on the couch and staring at the wall, sometimes that's what I need to do. Have the proposed EU sanctions on crypto affected? Well, I mean, I'm not seeing an effect on NFT markets. I think, like, they're not actually, like, even if the vote, I think the vote failed. I mean, I didn't look into it too much, but I think the vote actually didn't pass. And I think even if it did pass, there was still some other times when it could be recovered from. So they're not yet in whatever those sanctions are. And I don't think there were so much sanctions. It was just like they were trying to sort of make it, like, create a sort of mandate that would allow some bureaucrats basically to start doing bad things to crypto exchanges or something. And one of my threats, that's a really nice typo. I hope my threads aren't too threatening, except if you're a scammer, then I hope they are threatening. like the one saying this space is not safe for you. That is a threat. You said on one of your threads that NFTs will potentially become shares. Is there a legal structure for this as of now, or is this not allowed yet? So what I stated is more actually that NFTs will displace shares. I think that's a much better model. I was just talking to some friends yesterday who have been in this startup. They've been working on it for 10 years or so. And it's a startup that's still operating, that there was a sale that was being explored for the last couple of months for about $40 million. And they were early founders of this, like, you know, really early into the startup. And somehow the business was going to sell for $40 million. And because of all the way that preferential liquidation and all sorts of other things like that with shares are structured, they were not going to get any money from a sale of $40 million of a business that they spent 10 years building, which I just find like a beautiful and outrageous condemnation of the shares model, which I think the problem is that it kind of mixes investment and ownership. And I'm sort of getting to the idea that ownership and investment should actually be two separate things. And the reason why people have mixed them is because the investors needed control in order to ensure that they can push the company towards a positive outcome. And there's also like intermingled control. And I think that model is basically now broken for everybody. It's broken for the founders, it's broken for the employees, it's broken for the investors, it's broken for the LPs that invest in investors. It just sucks for everyone. And probably the only people who like this model are the regulators who have a job enforcing that model. And so I think that NFTs provide an alternative to shares where what you're buying is not ownership. And so there doesn't need to be the same legal structure. You're buying, like, for example, if you buy, let's take a project that I don't own for once. If you buy an ape, a Bored Ape, for example, back in when it was minting, you were investing in the project, giving them some money up front to do something really good with it. And if the project does well, then because of the club mechanics, because the ape is a membership token for the club that they're building, if the club becomes really valuable, which it did, then your membership token becomes more valuable. And that's how you make your money as an investor. Instead of owning a piece of Yuga Labs, you just own a piece of you just own a membership token, which you can then resell, and you can make your money that way. And there's not the mingling of ownership with investment. Now, Yuga Labs have actually taken some VC investment now. And I'm not necessarily against the VC investment. The problem is, if that's the only model for funding a business, then that means that all the different kinds of investors, which often aren't professional investors, don't know how to structure this stuff, and often are investing in companies that aren't ready for it yet, all that stuff gets mixed up, and it creates a sort of negative outcome for everyone. I think, like, it's less optimal for the investors, and it's less optimal for the company as well, that basically loses control of itself right out of the gate. But it haven't even come out of the gates. Like at seed round, you can already basically be forced down a path where you're going to have to exit by some kind of IPO or more likely an acquisition by another company. Like, making that decision that early is a bit like deciding on your kids' names on your first date with someone. It's just way too early to do all that kind of stuff. And so I like that NFTs provide an alternative funding model, and I think that's why it will take over, because it allows the company to not have that decision pushed on them so early, and it allows the investor also to have a much better investment terms than they would if they bought shares, I think. What do you think of Cool Kev's rebranding to Cool World and the new Llama collection? I don't know. I think it's totally possible that something really amazing will come out of this whole Kevin nonsense. And yeah, maybe this will be the one. I don't even know which one Cool Kev's is. And I like that they're trying to connect to Llamaverse. I guess that's partly what they're trying to do with the Llama collection. Bodes well in a sense, because the fact is there were a lot of people who bought into Pixelmon on Llamaverse, which was pretty tragic. And so there's probably a good audience for them there. That said, I'm really not interested in trying to guess which of the Kevin clones will somehow miraculously turn from just hot garbage to something valuable. There's plenty of other projects to look at. I have a financial advisor that doesn't want to give NFTs a chance, but if I could describe to him how they could replace shares, I'm sure he would give it a look. Well, I have a thread that explains that. So if you go on under categories here on swombat.io/categories.html, you can see here how NFTs will displace rather than replace shares. And also here, NFTs will replace shares in 5 years. So if you send him those two threads, and if he reads them, like send him send him NFTs will replace shares in 5 years first, and then how NFTs will displace rather than replace shares, and see if he resonates with that. And if he doesn't, maybe you need a different financial advisor that understands what you want to invest in, because they're supposed to be your advisor, so they need to be able to give you advice on the stuff that you want to invest in. Just like, you know, if you have a foot problem, you don't go to a doctor who specializes in eyes. You go to a doctor who knows how to deal with feet. So is your advisor, you get to pick him or her. No, you said him. Okay, we're getting towards the end of this. 27 past. Thanks very much for your questions, those who dialed in live, and also thank you very much to anybody who's watching this later. If you have any more questions, last minute to ask them. I can try and answering one more. Otherwise, I can put the music back on. Still can't hear it, but at least it's there. And it's played by a really good friend of mine called Stephen Lung, he improvises this on the piano. So this is improvised with no preparation, which I think is amazing. I love musicians that can improvise. Okay, I'll give it another 30 seconds, let's say. But if you feel like you've gotten enough, feel free to check out whether you're listening to this after the fact or dialing in live. Or just enjoy the tunes. It's a nice soothing tune, I think, as I remember, because I can't hear it. Okay, so let's call this a day. Thank you very much everybody who dialed in and asked questions, or didn't ask questions, that's cool as well. And thank you everybody who's watching this after the fact. I'm not leaving. I just got a message there, don't want you to leave. I'm not leaving, I'm staying right here. And you can keep watching the video over and over again if you want my soothing presence in your day. So thank you everybody, and have a lovely day, and enjoy whatever you decide to do today. Take care. Bye bye.